Welcome to ROQ Shop Talk. Our show talks best practices, fun anecdotes, and the latest cutting-edge technology in our field to kick your screen printing gears into hyperdrive. Today's episode features questions that rock. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be right back.
Want to welcome everybody back to ROQ Shop Talk, your one-stop rock shop where we talk all things screen printing. Today, we are discussing questions that rock. We're joined today with Justin Moore, Barrel Maker Screen Printing. How's it going, Justin?
It's good, good. How's it going with you guys?
Fantastic.
Rad.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
I'm ROQ US President Ross Hunter. Alongside me is also our creative producer, Mr. Merrill Caps.
Hey.
And our solution specialist, Mr. Rob Welch.
What's up, everybody?
Yo.
What's up?
Yo.
That was like a gangster introduction there. Want to start out by giving a little update. We have kicked off our video tour for ROQ US. For those of you just chiming in and hearing about this for the first time, we are taking our tour bus, Roxy, around the country, and we've been in dire need of content, and so the bus will be traveling around to different partners with a video crew, getting some great footage of different locations as well as different equipment. We're going to get a lot of educational content out of the trip. Want to make a note that we are being COVID safe. It's a very small group. The reason we're taking a bus is so we're not on planes bouncing all over the country and airports. Got a lot of precautions in place, including a really cool fog machine that actually disinfects our bus. So turn it on, it blasts everything with disinfectant. Pretty cool. So hopefully we'll get some neat pictures of the fogger going off there. But
So basically, we're just mosquitoes, is what you're saying.
pretty much.
Okay.
I don't know if you can be in the bus when the fog machine happens. That would be
I'm gonna
interesting.
say probably not.
No.
Like some laser lights,
Yeah, right.
you know? I don't know.
I
We
feel
like
like that's a big thing that's come out of COVID, is making you realize just how gross everything was before you had to like go around fogging it first.
I know. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
I
joke.
hope people keep the cleanliness going because, you know, the
Me
flu's
too.
been down, the cold's been down. I mean, everything's been down. And I kind of started to understand why in a lot of other countries, people wear masks pretty much
Yeah.
religiously all the time when they're
Mhm.
out in public.
I took a lift this morning and there was like a shield, you know, between the back
Oh,
seat
wow.
and the front seat. I loved it. It like made it so much easier to like tune the guy out and not feel bad.
Was
Yeah,
was
so it's
was
just
the lift?
No small talk. So you didn't have the lift small
Yeah.
talk happening.
It just
But-
helps. Like it adds that physical barrier too. It's
But
great.
was the lift a Crown Vic? Because that may or may not have something to do with
It wasn't. It was an undercover. It
Got
was an
it.
undercover lift.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's
Nice.
awesome. Well, yeah, so we're excited to kick that tour off. Excited to get content, tune in, you know, to what's going on our various different channels, and we're excited to get some new stuff out there for everyone to see. So that's kind of our update. Do we have any
No,
other
I mean,
big
that's
things, Merrill?
I think that's a huge update. It's our first time that in over a year that we're able to actually begin to visit anyone safely.
Absolutely.
And gosh, what a journey it has been.
It has been that. I miss traveling, I gotta say.
me
It's
too.
been hard not having some trade shows, although it's been a nice break. So, you know, on one side, it's like, you know, it's been nice not being all over the place. Got to spend a lot of time with the family. On the other hand, I miss the industry. I miss the people. I, you know, miss having some fun. So it'll be good to get back to it.
Amen.
Well, I wanted to introduce Justin and Barrel Maker Printing, and just kind of give a second, man. Tell us about your journey into the industry and how it's evolved over time.
Sure. Yeah. So we started Barrel Maker in 2009. I started it initially with my wife, just kind of like real randomly. You know, we saw like some Facebook posts about t-shirts that we they just like weren't very good. We kind of were like, we could do it a little better. We started trying to kind of make our own shirts, and that was sort of the initial concept, which was making shirts and kind of getting them into like a few stores. And then it turned into like, well, let's try and print them ourselves. And then basically me telling people that we had like the best print shop in the world, but it was like a silver press in our apartment with a flash dryer. And
That's awesome.
we grew it from there. So we I think after probably about 6 months, we kind of outgrew our apartment, got like a commercial space, and just kind of kept grinding away. And now we have about 14,000 square feet, and we run 3 autos here, bunch of embroidery. We have DTG. We also sub out to like 1 or 2 other shops pretty consistently. So we actually schedule like 5 automatics.
Oh, wow.
And then those 2 just go out, and we print for, pretty good variety. We do a decent amount of contract printing. We do fulfillment. We do like direct printing, a lot of water-based stuff. So people tend to use us for like higher color, usually higher end shirts. Like we don't tend to get a ton of those like real big, 10,000 shirt, white shirt with 1 color on it, kind of cheap out the door, like giveaway type stuff. We've definitely had moments in our like career, I guess, where we've had some of those, but now it seems like we definitely get a little bit of a higher end. We're certainly pricing like we're not the cheapest. I would say like on the contract side, we're a little bit on the higher end, and we sort of like to stay that way because it allows us to have like a really good team here. We're able to pay people a little bit better and do a higher quality of work. So but yeah, we do a lot of local stuff. Like we do a lot of music venues, museums, the library, and there's a lot of really cool like businesses that are based out of Chicago. And then we do some stuff like Capital One or Motorola, or things that are like just straight up like corporate.
Wow.
But for this last year, I guess like for us the big shift was we did a lot of live printing the previous year. So kind of like almost a third of our business is live events. So we did in 2019 we did like 320 or so live events.
Wow.
And
Dang.
so our model is a little bit different than some other people that do it, where we focus. We have a website, liveprinting.com, and so we focus on essentially being able to do anywhere in the country. And then we work with affiliate shops. So we work with a lot of other shops that actually use like ROQ presses or that are like us, and we sort of facilitate it. So that was a big hit.
What kind of venues are you guys doing with the light? I mean, is it kind of just across the board, or is there a focus on?
Yeah, it's so mixed. I mean, we've done a lot of hotels. We've done like rooftops, inside of office buildings, festivals, trade shows, things. We've done college campuses. We did a lot of those like this last year, where there would be like maybe a big event at the college, and there'd be kind of like a rally outside before the event, and they'd be giving away shirts and stuff like that too. So
Nice.
it has
That's a really novel concept, man. I mean, it's cool that you turned it into, I mean, I've heard of people live printing before, but the fact that you guys turned it into an actual business with a website and the ability to have this cohort of people that you can rely on in other states and stuff, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been really interesting, because I would say like we were just really getting into our stride, where we like, I think when we first started doing it, we were trying to work the systems into just kind of like how Barrel Maker operates, right? So if we needed events were actually scheduled similar to like t-shirts, and then it was like, well, but those screens are going to an event, and we kind of like ran it all within the same system. And we had to like really take that apart and be like, okay, well, like live events are going to go into like Trello. Trello is what we use to manage all those events and who they're going to, and have like a separate set of checklists, and essentially it was a separate team, who handled it. And so, but obviously events hasn't been a thing. So it's been cool. The last like couple months we started to like focus on it again. We looked at sort of all the the mistakes that we made, like I'm sure you guys know too, like it's really easy to become really busy, and then you find yourself in these situations where you're maybe live at an event and you don't have squeegees, or you don't have an ink, or just various things that go wrong. And so we're trying to like, it's sort of like a rare opportunity. I mean, I'm assuming for a lot of businesses, but like where you kind of have this thing that there's just like a hiatus from, and like I don't have any doubts that it's going to come back, so it's really like, how do we take advantage of this like kind of quiet time to actually make it better, instead of having to try and do that while you're like doing events every weekend too. So
it's kind of cool that you guys held on to, I know through COVID, right, a lot of people freak out, they pivot, and once things get better, it's a lot harder to jump back in. It's really cool to hear the story that you guys took advantage of the time and said, you know what, it's going to come back. Let's take this time to be better when it does, because I think everyone else was so focused on what do we do, and it's really neat that you guys did that. That's the first kind of story I'm hearing along those lines.
Same.
It's been very difficult to do that because we're doing the best we can to stay afloat too. So we're doing a lot of fundraising stores and more fulfillment and all that stuff. So we've really had to make that effort to be like, hey, Thursday at 10 o'clock, we're going to sit down for an hour. We're going to discuss live printing. And it's hard because Thursday at 10 comes and it's like everybody's busy with other stuff. And you're like, we don't even have any events scheduled, but like, we know later on these things are this is like the best time for us to focus on it. So
how soon
it is.
I'm sorry. I was curious, how soon after the pandemic hit did you face that and start implementing that?
Not that soon, probably 4 months or so. Like the first focus was really trying to partner with all, we're a local business more than anything. Chicago just has, so many awesome, like independent small businesses. So like the very first focus was like, how do we help do fundraising, because that's, and I know a lot of people did that as well. It was just like, that was the very first go-to, like, how do we team up with them? Because obviously like we need orders too. And, super effective. We donated about $140,000 in that first month. So it was like that. We ended up actually having the first couple months of the pandemic were pretty good numbers for us, which was great. But we got hit because of the events. We never had an event cancel before, it's just like people don't really do that. And when COVID first started, we actually had events that were scheduled for, like the end of March or April and things like that already paid us. And so not only did we lose events, but we had quite a bit of money that we had to refund. So that kind of like March was a real hard month, because not only did like our sort of pipeline of orders and income and everything stopped, but we also had a bunch of money that we had to like return. And it was just like, whoa, that was a huge swing.
Right.
So, yeah.
Wow. Well, cheers to you guys for turning that around. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to.
Yeah, no kidding. Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I'm curious to learn kind of like the experience from when you decided to automate. How soon was that decision implemented, and was it instantly ROQ and what about ROQ led you to the Eco, the tunnel, forgive me, Lotus Holland too, I think.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
I think the Lotus might be like the best machine in the industry. Like it's like, I mean, it's just such a game changer. Like when you have, I think if you've done that job, it does take like the crappiest job in the industry and make it semi-tolerable, like that, which is a big swing. I mean, that's a bad job to have to do every day. But yeah, we totally started with manual presses. My wife and I were really big advocates of like printing together on manual presses. So like we, it took a few years before we were able to to buy an auto. We used to do a lot of like one person would load the shirts and spin and the other would print. And, you know, like if I zoned out or something, she'd like swing the platens at me and like, you know, clap and whatnot. But it was, you know, you could hustle, but it's really hard when you're doing things like with an underbase on a manual press and you start getting into volume. It's just, it gets to you, you know. So our I think the first we got, basically we took an order that was 60,000 pieces, and we used that to buy.
Well, you were manual.
We were manual, yeah. But you take
Okay,
the order
so
and then you figure it out.
really did totally run the business, like you said, with the silver press up in a room. That's like, yeah, we're big. Look, we're the best, and you took this job. That's awesome, man, because so many people are afraid of that. This is a cool piece of information you got to give to people out there, is take it and figure it out later.
I think the 60,000 piece order is less impressive than the fact that they gave me it was over $100,000 check paid in full, like up front. And I remember being like, holy shit, you know, like, I mean, they didn't know that. They're like, we could just pay with a purchase order, right? And like, I had to be like, no, like this is, you know, we have to buy all the goods. You know, you figure that out. But we took the check. We ended up buying but we didn't know how to print, and we obviously couldn't print that order manually. So we went on, I think it was like, maybe it was Digitsmith or one of those sites back then, and we found like a local gauntlet for sale, an M&R gauntlet. We bought the gauntlet, we bought a big tunnel, and we did that order. So we basically used that order that one order was like our launching pad into like actually having an automatic. At that time, we also were going to like a local shop that did have an automatic, and if we had orders that were like kind of like too big for us, we'd bring them there, you know. So we subbed out too, like which it's so interesting for me to look back at the early time period for us and how similar it is to how we still operate. Like we'll still go way over our capacity, and you just try and find good partners that could help you out, you know. And this industry is so cool too, because, you know, print shops are really not like, they don't really tend to be like predators against each other or anything. Like everyone's like relatively pretty open and helpful, you know. And there's definitely times where like we've had to get help from other print shops, or we've helped other print shops. It's a cool
Move
community.
Your shop to LA, dude, and tell me that you get that same sentiment.
That's probably true. That's probably true. So yeah, we had a gauntlet. We got through not too long with it. I mean, I want to say maybe only like 4 or 5 months, but we just struggled a lot with it. And this was like right when Ryan started carrying the ROQ presses. So we, you know, they looked really cool. It definitely looked a lot nicer than what we're currently working on. And we kind of had this period where like with like the M&R press, basically like the technician just had to like, it was like every day there was like a tech there, and it was getting really old. But we also wanted to move we were on the 3rd floor of our building. We were in like an industrial warehouse, so we were moving down to the 1st floor. So we kind of were like, this is a good opportunity to kind of like new shop, new equipment. So I think the first press we got was a P10, and we got basically like a dryer and a press, and within only like a couple months, it was like, oh, we clearly need like a second press. Because as soon as you automate, you realize like how many, you know, one color prints you have, right? Or how many like sleeve prints or back prints, or just there's so many of these like kind of additional print locations that you really quickly like just, you don't want to put them on your like main press, you know, because your main press is doing all those like kind of front prints that tend to be more colors and whatnot. So yeah, I think going from 1 press to 2 presses makes a lot of sense to do like pretty quickly. At least in our case, we did it like pretty much right away. And then I think a few months later got like a 3rd one. So but we've had a few different ones now. We've had like I know we've had right now basically we have like a P8U, a P14U, and a P16 Eco. So those are the presses we have here, and very 2 dryers. So yeah.
Where was the first place that you saw like a rock press in person? Like, was it at a trade show?
It was in our shop when it showed up.
That was the first time.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
My friend Nick Wood, who worked over there, he sent me a picture. He like texted me a picture of one like in, I don't know, like in a warehouse or something. It was like when they first came out. Like, I don't know, we definitely got one pretty early on, so they weren't like all over. I mean, I know like once we set it up, a lot of people started to come to our shop to check them out. But I mean, it just looked cool and clean and new, and I really like. I think the feature that I was the most excited about was the pallets staying fixed and not going up and down. Which I know some more presses now, don't. They've kind of switched that model, but that was really nice because I always hated.
It took 7 years for him to catch on, but
yeah, for sure.
But who's counting?
It definitely makes a lot more sense to just have the pallets stay kind of in that fixed position like that. So,
and coming from manual printing too, I mean, the press is really designed to kind of operate in the exact same way, people are used to from a manual. So I think that learning curve going from manual to auto is a little bit easier when you're not changing how you load. I mean, the loading thing's a big deal because I mean that's your speed. I remember the first time, I owned a big blue press. I'll throw it out there with my old business, and that was my first press going from manual to auto. And I remember loading, and it took me a while. I mean, it was like going from having something stagnant, you're kind of taking your time, to having something that's moving not only quickly around, but it's moving up and down as well. I mean, you kind of get shaky on it. So
it's something where like we try and have our printers here really operate at a slower speed, because I feel like it's really easy to set a press to a high speed and be like, cool, we're just going to run at 800 an hour. But like, if you have to factor in all the times that you got to stop the press because you just missed that load, it's like, you really shouldn't be operating at, 800 an hour unless you're going to be hitting it every time, So it's like, I totally encourage people to like slow it down and just like get that groove, become comfortable at it, because you'll get faster and faster and better at it. But it's not helpful to just like run the press really quickly and then keep like scrambling for a foot pedal, or worse, hitting like emergency stop and kind of resetting everything. So
I remember those days.
Dude, I wish that button, I want to put a little plastic box over that. Actually, I should do that. It's a good idea. Just make it so it's not even there.
You can't touch it.
You guys should take that off. Actually, our first shop, when we had the autos in there, so we had, I want to say like only like 4,000 square feet with 3 autos in it. Like it was really tight, and we took out all the security bars. We did like the circuit, whatever, so that just because like you literally had to squeeze through all the time, and the security bars kept stopping the presses, which I guess is the point. But we were like, look, there's like 6 of us, we know what we're doing, like we're fine. But yeah, so we disabled them all and would have to squeeze through all the time. It's
That's crazy,
pretty intense.
And no one ever gotten taken out?
No, we had people get taken out. I saw someone get hit in the head with a pallet, and that scared the crap out of me. Like it was like a hot market thing where we were running we were just like running hot market, where we were going like real fast and had a lot of temps in the shop. So like when like the Cubs won and things like that, or like we did some Dodger shirts like the next year, like it's like you just get like so much like temp work for like a couple days. And we had a temp unloading, and the shirt fell on the ground, and she leaned down to pick up the shirt. Then but it was scary, but she was okay. But it like, yeah, that was freaky.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was kind of funny when you were talking about you and your wife printing manually, and she'd spin the pallet to wake you up. I remember doing a job with my brother-in-law back when I first started, and it was white tees, black print, and we were printing manually, 2-person team, and I was loading and he was printing. He was 6'8", huge hands. He could literally pull a 12-inch design with one hand. So he's just cruising, right? Yeah. And for some reason, he decided to screw around, and he spun the screen. And I was in the middle of putting a shirt on, and I blacked out, knocked me out cold, hit me right in the side of the face, hit the floor. And so you telling me that story of your wife, waking you up with the pallets reminded me of that story. But yeah, it's crazy dangerous place sometimes.
And for ROQ owners out there, please do not disable the security mechanisms on the machine.
Thank you, Rob.
Don't do that. They're there for a reason. You don't want to get hit by a pallet indexing at 900 pieces an hour.
They're there to stop your
or break your ribs. One of the two.
Yeah, but if you get the job done faster,
it's totally worth it.
No, but spinning a manual press in between prints, like, it's cool. Or like doing a spin, like you spin the screens around and then you do a quick spin and then you get back to like, I think having like some flair while you print, it's worth it. You gotta have some swagger there. With live printing especially, like, you got to keep it spinning. People like that.
We should keep note of this, guys, and do a screen printing flair competition at Long Beach next year. Would you participate? Cool. Would you participate?
I'd be terrible. I could get my wife to do it. Maybe she'd be good.
Okay.
At it. Is there drinking?
This idea.
Could it be drinking and flair? Yeah,
of course there's drinking. I think last year even we supplied the drinking in our booth the entire time. We had a full restaurant. Were you there at Long Beach? When we did the big hoopla?
Last year was like Sublime, right? That was
that
was fun.
It was fun. That's what I miss.
Yeah. You know what sold me on ROQ actually that I don't think they do anymore is the wine in the base of the presses. Is that
so we got in trouble. So to give people some background here, one of the owners of ROQ owns a winery. He owns a vineyard in Portugal. They make an amazing vino verde. There we go.
Verde.
Which is very popular wine in Portugal. It's fairly acidic, but it's good. And so used to, when you buy a ROQ press, you'd open the base of the press, and inside would be a case of wine from their vineyard. And, unfortunately, like alcohol laws and transporting things in ocean freight across the country, it's actually called smuggling. We didn't really see any harm in this, but at one point a press went into Canada. Canada was not a fan of finding alcohol buried inside a press body in customs. So we have a running tally now that Portugal owes us about 7,500 bottles of wine. And I'm working proactively to get someone that can get this wine imported. And I was thinking we could just open a ROQ Us winery, like pop-up restaurant, and just sell it until it's gone or something. But those were fun days, man. It's cool to buy something and bust open a celebratory drink, and
it was a really nice touch, and it definitely gave the presses at that time too a little bit of like a European quality to them. So
100%. We need to get back to something like that. We need to work. That. Yeah, we can't do booze. Like, we should figure out another way to put that touch on.
Yeah, we did have one though that came with like half of the wine broken, and it was like it's a little too close to all like the control panel and everything.
Right.
So
that can get a little scary. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will have more questions at ROQ. We'll be right back.
You know where you're going, and you need a vessel with a deep understanding of you and your objectives embedded into its very design. An automatic screen printing press that's built for you, your audience, your workflow, your goals. The ROQ U Auto is the ideal press to match how unstoppable you are. For these and other expert solutions to help you press onward, please visit roq.us or call 1-87-ROQ-IT now. That's 877-674-8669.
I want to welcome everybody back to ROQ Shop Talk, your one-stop ROQ shop where we talk all things screen printing. Today, we are discussing questions that rock, and we are joined by Justin Moore of Barrel Maker Screen Printing out of Chicago. I'm ROQ US President Ross Hunter, and alongside of us is Mr. Merrill Caps, our creative producer, and equipment specialist, Mr. Robert Welch, also known as Bobby GrapeJuice.
Be great, baby. In the house. Let's do this.
Oh,
I like to call him Bobby Grape Leaves, though, because it
Likes
just
to mess it
bothers
up.
him. Well,
that's on the replay, on the remix.
I call him
Yeah,
Haas
I think
Runter
it's
too.
I've never heard that before. That's
I do it behind your back.
I call him
Oh, okay,
Rossi
thanks.
to his face.
I get a
It's
lot
like,
of Rossi from Merrill, yeah.
No, it's because you're like my Hollywood bud. Like, hey, Rossi, he's gonna love it, baby. Like that kind
I
of
like it.
yeah.
Okay.
I think I Carlo
So-
Rossi. And I'm like, oh god.
No, different Rossi.
Does anyone
gonna
call
do
you
something-
grapes?
Ooh, grapes.
No, it was actually a customer that this guy would call in and he would order 2 gallons of a custom Pantone every 2 weeks. And I was just like, man, that's insane. Like you could just get a system and mix it yourself because you're like next day airing this stuff. And he's like, yeah, no, just he was in Louisiana. He was like, oh, just call me Bobby Pantones. And then like we're just talking for another
That
another
doesn't
minute.
sound like a Louisiana accent. That
No,
was
he
more of like a
sounded straight
Oh
up.
no,
from New York.
no. Trust me, where I'm from, all of my I'm right outside of New Orleans. That accent sounds just like Brooklyn / New Jersey, 100%.
Yeah, but that's how from Louisiana. That's how he sounded. Huh. And then he goes, oh, your last name is Welch? Oh, like the grape juice. All right, well, I'm gonna call you Bobby GrapeJuice then. And I was like, oh man, that's phenomenal. And then other people heard it.
That's great.
It's stuck. It's been around for years now.
Yeah, now he's topping the charts.
Buck's supposed to be making up some shirts. He says he has some designs.
Excellent.
Oh, I like that. We should actually have nickname shirts. That's a cool idea.
I like that.
I like that. My nickname for a long time was Lunchbox. That was a fun one. My bowling ball is actually engraved Lunchbox when I was on a bowling league.
That's hardcore.
Apparently, I liked to eat a lot. So
I was gonna say, were you heavier back then?
Dude,
I was heavier until COVID hit, and that made me.
Plus, you've been working out like a tank.
Yeah, you're looking good.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thanit's, man. I appreciate it. It's 46 pounds since about May of last year. So it's been good. Well, we want to do something unconventional. I want to turn over the floor, and the questions that rock are going to come from Justin, and we're going to have some fun and be put on the spot. We've done a lot of episodes where we ask a bunch of questions and we want to turn the tables around. So hit us with it, man.
All right, cool. This is exciting. So just to start, I'm just curious, what's your top selling product? Do you guys know?
Top selling product. So I'm going to go pre-COVID, and then I'm going to go post-COVID, because I think it's important. Sure. Our clientele and business models changed quite a bit. So pre-COVID, definitely the 6-color 10 station U would have been the most sold, item. Post-COVID, the U machines are probably still the highest sold. However, right now, the close second is the Next. I'd say they're within about 3 to 4 units actually of each other. So the Next is really taken off since the release. And size-wise, it's kind of all over the board right now. We've been in a lot of new markets that the brand hasn't really seen a lot of. And so I'd say, what would you say, Rob? Like 10 color machines seem to be the sweet spot right now.
10 and 12 color, I'd say would be the sweet spot. And then outside of presses, I mean, post-COVID, it was all pre and post press. So we just saw this huge influx of folding lines, folding and packaging, and then Lotus.
Like,
that was huge because people were all, unfortunately having like downsize in a lot of situations and cut their labor force. And so they were like, okay, where are we wasting labor at? Or where was labor just kind of being sucked up from? And it was people that were folding and bagging by themselves, or, like you were talking about earlier, having someone standing, in a washout pit, just reclaiming screens all day long. It's like, okay, we could have that person doing something else for most of the day and have a machine.
Can we talk about the Lotus then?
Yeah, absolutely.
So in terms of the Lotus, is there any thought into potentially like adding degrease to inside of it, you know, like adding another chamber where you could kind of like truly get that, like pass it through and not have to touch it after, like, or like kind of having like another version of the Lotus that's a little bit bigger, or any sort of development on that?
There is a ton of development actually, and I'm glad you asked that. So Lotus has developed a new machine called the Lotus Evo Max. We just placed the first unit at a shop in Florida, who actually is going to be on another episode here coming up. Real Thread.
Oh, that was actually last week.
Oh, that's last week.
Don't you remember? Don't you remember?
Yeah,
Rob?
no. Here's what's funny about our marketing is sometimes our shows are filmed
out of sequence.
You know, out of sequence. So
magic of the movies.
Yes. So that was on our last episode with Real Thread where we discussed the new Lotus Evo Max. But we just placed our first unit. He just got done with development. And here's the big changes. So the current system has your 3 chambers. So you've got you know, your ink cleaning, your reclamation, and then your rinse, and then it comes out. With the new system, there's now a chamber in between the ink clean and the reclamation to eliminate cross contamination between those 2 chambers. What we were seeing sometimes is some of that ink chemical and drip off and runoff was going into the reclamation chamber. So they've added a chamber there. And then he's
is that just a power wash? Is that just like a rinse station?
It's a drip. It's a drip. So it's more of a runoff chamber, I guess you'd say. And then he added an automatic dosing system to the whole machine. So, you know, currently you're going in, you're measuring your pH, and you're manually adding chemistry into your ink cleaning, into your reclamation. Now it's got an automatic dosing system based off of your screen usage. So if you know at your shop every 100 screens, you're going through and you're adding chemistry, you can actually set the machine, it's set up on a counter, obviously. And so once it gets to 100, that automatic dosing system would dose in the amount of chemistry that you would typically add at that point.
That's cool.
Yeah, in terms of degreasing, it's really on the chemistry that's going into your reclamation. I honestly think that they haven't added that chamber yet. So I mean, that's something that maybe, you know, future forward is having a third degrease chamber right after reclamation prior to getting into, you know, your final rinse, but they haven't added that yet.
Yeah, I just always like look at it and think about like, oh, I just wish there was like 1 more chamber there, you know, or 2 more. I mean, because like, who cares if it's bigger? It's stagnant at that point. It's
right.
It's you know, it's not like it takes up like a crazy amount of space. I mean, I guess it kind of does.
Well, his goal, and I know at Lotus, and one of the big things that we've had like industry feedback wise, is the footprint. You know, because we've got a lot of places that'll actually put the Lotus inside their darkroom. I mean, you've got some folks that, you know, have enough space in the darkroom, but it's not a monster machine to be able to put it in. And then secondly is the price point. You know, we're really touted as a very affordable way. I mean, we can prove ROI on that machine at like, what, 30 screens a day. I mean, it's insane that you literally could probably have a manual shop prove ROI. A busy manual shop, you don't even need an auto, could prove ROI on getting one of these systems. And so I think the goal was to keep it there. And the nice thing about the Max is the price point's not that much higher. So he was able to add some development to the machine, you know, make it a little bit user friendly, and it's still not even in the 6-figure land, which is nice, you know, keeping that machine under there. But we'll talk to him about that. I mean, I think it's a really valid point. And, you know, as he's growing and developing, it'd be nice to maybe have a tier, you know, you get like a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and that way people have options on what they're wanting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about chemicals either to figure out if there's a way to create like a product where it could be in the same kind of coexist with like either, well, I guess it would have to be the emulsion stripper, right? But that would be.
What chemistry are you guys using now?
We're using Sadi, which it's been going really well. When we very first got the Lotus, we started with Core Chem, and then we switched over to Saudi. But we've just stayed on that for a long time. So I think we've talked about like potentially trying, I guess it would be easy way would be like the third option, right? But it's one of those things where it's like, it works, you know, like we're not really, yeah. So it doesn't seem like something we need to mess with. But but managing people to reclaim screens is like very difficult, and it's, if you're not watching somebody, you know, especially when you're a smaller shop where it's like kind of like the owner is also working with customers and, you know, has a lot of other things going on, and then you have, maybe you bring someone in and you pay them, you know, hourly to do reclaim. Like, at least for me, like that was, I had the most frustration with that, where it'd be like, oh, like the day's over and we had 16 screens reclaimed, and it's like, how? Like, he was there all day or whatever, and it's like, well, he was like texting his girlfriend and was like spacing out, and then smoked like 18 cigarettes, and then he went to the bathroom 6 times, and it's like, shit. So I mean, at least like the Lotus gives you like a way to like really kind of expedite that process.
And they can still text their girlfriend, right?
Dude, you could do
like
more of that. You could, yeah, you could totally do more of that. So you guys have any new products that you're kind of developing, like anything that's like really different or like outside of what you currently have, or not?
Yeah, so I mean, some stuff that people are already aware of, but we're making some modifications to, which I can talk about those. So you know, our hybrid machine, a lot of modifications have been recently made to that. We're re-rolling it out. We've got 2 hybrids going out into 2 partner shops, I think in the next about month and a half. And so we're really excited to see that new technology in a production environment. So that's one thing that's rolled out. The ROQ now is being redeveloped. It's in its 3rd iteration, and that should be ready really by next year. We're going to do some beta rollout this year, but we're, you know, making sure that we're really getting the right partners, right, to come in on that, again, to get those into production environments and ensure that, you know, everything's functioning well. And we're really excited about that one. I mean, we released that product 2 years ago, and it you know, quite frankly, it wasn't ready for market. And
yeah,
it's been a challenge over the last 2 years going through that, but a ton of development was done, and we're excited about that one. The Eco 2, which some people have heard of, some people haven't. We had it showcased at 1 trade show so far, but that is the new Eco, essentially. So now we've got the U, the Next, and the Eco. I'm calling it the Eco 2 for those of you, and you would be one included, that have an Eco. So this is kind of the new version of that. You know, the big thing there is it's got digital screens on every single head. And so as you're running your micro reg, it's actually reading out to you in millimeter increments where you're moving it, how far you're moving it. Makes it easier to move your attachments around. So if you're tossing an iron on a head, you can actually set it right there on the head without having to go back to your main computer. So a lot of cool upgrades there, I guess you'd say. And then with our folding system, we're working on a boxing attachment. So
that's
you'll
cool.
be able to fold, pack, label, and then it will actually box and stack everything out of the pack into there. So we're excited. You know, we're in very early beta on that, but excited to see where that product's going to go. So, and we're working on some other stuff. There's a small electric dryer that we're hoping to bring to market that's you know, more competitive with like a Big Red or an Elias. So that's an early development. And then, you know, ROQ is just big on constantly making things better. And so they're working on a lot of, you know, technology changes across the board just to kind of increase productivity, efficiency, you know, all that kind of good stuff.
So with that part of it, right? With I guess like any sort of efficiencies, like is there any communication between like ROQ and I guess it would be like either like a software company or maybe like an industry company like Printavo or something like that. That's like really going to start sharing the data. Is there anyone focused on how, someone, for me who owns a business, like I would love to be able to log into a dashboard and currently see like what all my presses are doing. Are they running? Are they not running? What have they done today? How much downtime? I know that the press has that information, and it would be really useful to, it's like a business owner to be able to see what your equipment's doing. I don't know if there's any like development on that side of things, or has anyone
100%.
requested stuff like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We've actually had a lot of requests for that. We have actually worked with Bruce at Printavo. We've talked to him about, possible integrations. From an equipment standpoint, our goal is to get all the equipment Wi-Fi capable. And I think that that's the big thing. The data all lives there. It's just getting the data out of the machine into a central location that you can pair it with some kind of software platform or dashboard, to your point. I think our biggest challenge isn't going to be the Wi-Fi capability. It's going to be the API from the press into whatever software
Interface.
you're running. And businesses are all over the place. We've got screen printers that are on large ERPs. We have printers that have developed their own software. We have people running Printavo. We have people running ShopWorks. And so the machine part of it's easy. I think it's the API part of it before we can take something like that to market. Because what we don't want to do is put development into it and then say, now you've got to hire a software developer to figure out how to integrate everything. So it is being worked on.
Yeah, I would imagine that like there's a pretty big percentage of shops that would pay like a monthly fee essentially to be able to access like, their data in real time, and just be able to like kind of monitor.
Printavo, because Printavo, I mean, he offers his service at such a great rate that even if you're not using the full software bundle that he's providing, just having that piece as a dashboard, or maybe he can develop something that's just a dashboard that pairs with ROQ machines. That's kind of what we've been talking to him about.
Yeah, I just think that'd be really cool. Like as we've grown as a shop, the most important thing for us has become data. Not just on our it's kind of across the board. It's like on our machines, it's with our customers, and just the more data that we have access to that we could clearly decipher, the better we could operate. So I definitely think like focusing on making the equipment better is one step, but also taking what you currently have and being able to like, read into it better, or like little changes possibly could be really cool. Really cool. I know with like bigger presses too, like the more you could do from a print head is always ideal, as when you're halfway around the press and then you have to like run to like kind of, the main screen to clear something out and go back, like that definitely gets tedious.
And that's where that new eco, you can clear alarms from those heads. Like that's what's cool is those digital heads are integrated all the way through. Yeah.
Do you think that the ROQ now is that sort of like what you think is the future? Like, do you think 5 years from now that's going to be like a core, like the core product?
I think 5 years is not a lot of time. I think, it's interesting. So I guess I got two answers to that is, COVID changed a lot, and COVID kind of made the race to digital a lot more prevalent because direct to consumer decorated shirts and hoodies and, or garments, just to use a more broad term, became huge. I mean, that market just absolutely exploded. And not one company right now is totally the way there. Right. There's a lot of constraints on digital printing when it comes to substrate. you know, what inks people are using, wash fastness. I mean, there's all these variables, right? And I think that in 5 years, it will have come a long way. I don't think that digital personally will ever take over screen printing. I mean, the Cubs are always going to need shirts, and they're not going to want them digitally printed because, you know, the cost per piece is going to be, you know, I think too substantial with the ink costs that you're dealing with digital printing. Now, fast forward 15 years, I think that from a chemistry standpoint, they'll be able to get those ink costs down. They'll be able to eliminate clogging in the machines. There'll be closed loop systems like the one that we're developing right now. And I think that the closed loop system is the future. It's, you know, inline pre-treat with digital, with the ability to add special effects or flocking or even a screen print on top of it to really have a mixed media type piece. I think we're going that direction. I don't think it's going to be as quick though as a lot of people think, because I don't think the technology is caught up with it. It's kind of like flat screen TVs. I mean, you guys remember when that whole shift, or even DVDs to digital media? Right. You know, DVDs still exist. I mean, it's crazy, right? It's kind of funny. You laugh. You go into a store and they got a big bin of DVDs for $5. But I'll be honest with you, I have a fifth wheel that still has a DVD player on it, and I buy those things, like, you know. So I think we're getting there. It's going to be a slow progression, and, you know, the chemistry and technology is going to need to really prove itself out.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's one of those things I think that freaks out a lot of shop owners, you know, where it's like this emerging technology that you kind of see is, you know, it's coming, it's going to be here soon. Like, we got to sort of start to like dabble with it and whatnot, but like at the same time, it's not quite ready. So it's hard to mess with digital and not become frustrated at this point, you know. But but at the same time, you kind of like need to, because it's, you know, it's coming. So
I think playing with it is good. I think it's still very market specific though. I think it really is a direct to consumer style of printing. It is the, you know, the Amazon web stores of the world, the Redbubbles, you know, these places that are already doing this. So the people that are printing for them, you know, there's a huge need. You know, people with their own retail stores, huge need. But you know, there's still going to be every business out there that, you know, needs 500 shirts printed, and it's not going to be a 20 color design. It's going to be a 2 or 3 color. And so I don't think screen printing will ever go away, and I don't think it's something people should worry about just yet. I think there's quite a bit of time before the worry needs to set in. If that makes sense. I mean, you know, it may not ever really be a worry.
No, I do. Screen printing still, it's really fast and it's really cost effective, you know, and you right now you have so much control over it too. So you could create a product that could be so many different things. You could create a super soft shirt. You could create like that thick, high density type shirt. We have all that control. So I mean, that part's cool, but it's definitely interesting watching, you know, some of these products get developed. And you know, the other thing too is it seems like more and more with the digital side, you have to have that focus on the front end as well, and how you get from, you know, that like online design tool directly to the machine, you know. And it's like, it's not just being able to do like 100 different designs right away, but how to also like process that on a customer service standpoint, you know, basically from a website directly to the machine and out the door. So it's like it's just like a whole nother process.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the operational software, you know, and development that's involved, it's funny because when we're going to market with this product, you know, we have to ask so many questions because it's cool technology, right? So people with money that are printing now, they're like, man, I want to get rid of these screens and do this, and I've got a website or I've got this going on, but the integration that's involved in all of that, I mean, it's substantial. And I think that, you know, no one right now has an out of the box, like, you know, let's just plug this thing in and it's going to connect to my website, and, you know, an order comes in and it just prints, you know, I mean, and I think it'll get there, and that'll be really cool for that market.
Yeah.
You know, and it's going to go a long ways, and we just see more and more of that now. You know, I'm on Facebook, and you know, scrolling through, and it's like, hey, you know, shop on our website and get entered to win a McLaren 720S, and I'm like, man, I haven't bought a t-shirt in like 15 years because I've been in this industry for so long, but I really want to win that car. You know, you get on,
Yeah.
you know, you're buying some shirt, and I mean, that's how they're producing those things quickly for the most part. So
Yeah.
I think it's definitely prevalent, but you know, screen printing will stay alive.
Do that.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we get back, we are going to talk about more questions that rock. We'll be right back.
Limited on space and budget? Are you a team of one? Need a supporting press to automate those simple prints without the bottleneck? The ROQ FIT fits seamlessly into your workflow and shifts your production to fifth gear's cruise control without breaking a sweat. To discover where automation fits in your business today, please visit ROQ.us or call 187-ROCKET now. That's 877-674-8669.
I want to welcome everybody back to ROQ Shop Talk, your one-stop rock shop where we talk all things screen printing. Today, we are discussing questions that rock with Justin Moore of Barrel Maker Screen Printing. I am ROQ US President Ross Hunter. Alongside of me as well is Merrill Capps, our creative producer.
Hello.
And solution specialist, Rob Welch, i.e. Bobby GrapeJuice.
I don't know why I'm always the last person that gets introduced. I mean, can I get the first billing one of these times?
Save the best for last.
Oh, there we go.
Do you know what happens, dude? I go in order of how you're sitting on my screen. And I'm going left to right.
That's not any better. That just means you have them at the bottom of your screen.
Well, I didn't decide that. I think Zoom picked where Bobby GrapeJuice is sitting.
I was the last person to join, so that makes sense.
There it is.
You don't like to be last picked, do you? Was that a thing for you ever?
No.
Okay.
Was it? No. I'm sure. Yeah, probably. Like elementary school, like whatever. I do soccer field. It's like, okay, the fat kid. Yeah, I don't really want him on my soccer team, so I guess he's the last person that's going to go. So
You're the first on my team.
That makes sense. I have a trainer. I have this like trainer that I go to now, and I'm convinced that she was like super fat as a kid because she's just like such a dick. It's like, yeah.
I certainly
got you.
had my time.
Yeah.
I had my time my whole life until 8 months ago. Yeah,
that's the right way to do it.
It's a lot of work, though.
It is.
It's hard. It is hard. It's not just exercise. I mean, the diet part of it is what kills me because I love Little Debbie. Little Debbie, is my girl. You know, and
she does so many things right.
She's a temptress, and I have a really hard time staying away from her when I'm in a gas station paying for something, and I turn around, there's her face. Yeah, and it's like, enjoy these Swiss cake rolls, Ross. I really want you to eat them. And I have a hard time with that.
Those are so good when they get really cold too. And like the chocolate just flakes off.
Yes. Yeah. See? I haven't had lunch yet either. So this is making my mouth water right now. We were talking about some fun things over the break. Rob, why don't you
I had a question for actually turn the tables and ask Justin a question. So, I mean, you've been a ROQ owner now for a long time. You've moved your shop. You've swapped out presses for bigger presses. You've had a lot of interactions with our technicians and kind of that post-install support. So, I guess I want to get some questions from you, like, what's that like for you? When you're working with the techs and the techs in the shop, like, how's that experience been? Getting that support and any kind of interesting stories you might have or interesting images you might want to share.
Well, I think the ROQ techs are it's an attractive bunch. We definitely rank our techs by how they look, and we have some favorites. No, the techs have been really good. The supports, my favorite thing about the support initially, and this is kind of obvious now, but like years ago, like I just loved that I was able to FaceTime with like Buck. Like Buck was like our first tech, And if I had a question or, you know, we did something dumb on the press, like I could just FaceTime them and show them, you know, what's going on and solve it in real time. And that was something, at least with like other companies that we were working with at the time, it like, that was like unheard of still. They were like, no, we got to send somebody out there. I'm like, but I could just show you right now, like really easily. And, you know, obviously that's like more developed now too with it's like more common, but no, we've always had really good support. When we moved our shop, it was a pretty solid week of, you know, basically installing like 3 presses, 2 dryers, the Lotus, and uninstalling all that and, you know, moving it and whatnot. So it was definitely a feat, but yeah, it's been cool. I was actually curious if you guys have any sort of like options where you could have techs come out where maybe like outside of an install. Like, do you guys ever, or maybe not even techs, but have like people that come out and just do like one-on-one training? Like if a shop hires like maybe a new printer and they're real busy and they just need like support, or even like kind of like maintenance, you know, I don't always trust that, like, you know, at least in our shop, like those guys with the wrench that pop up that say your machine needs service, they just like live on the screen because like they're like, oh, these don't belong here, you know? And so like I always thought like it would be nice to be able to like kind of call and be like, hey, could we get on the books next time someone's like in our vicinity, and basically pay for a day to have like a technician come out and like just service all the equipment, kind of, you know, make sure it's all oiled and looking good, and you know,
absolutely.
things like that.
We've done that. Yeah, we've done that before in a bunch of different situations. So that's totally something we do. We like to get kind of heads up information on anything that we know that's going on ahead of time. That way, if we need to have a part out there or what have you. But scheduling something like that is something that's been done and can be done. Absolutely.
Yeah, and we're developing a program specifically to, I'm creating a product that's exactly what you say. It's a maintenance product. So I've actually been calling, and maybe you can tell us, this is actually a good time to pull you, because we've been calling, you know, random places, me and our director of operations, Mark Showman, because we were toying with this idea of like extended warranty. Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny because in these conversations, and I don't want this to come off cocky because it may not be this way for everyone, but you know, we put together this whole program, we were blind pitching it, and the resounding response was, I will never buy an extended warranty from you guys. And I said, well, why? And they're like, well, things don't break. And you know, when stuff does, you know, we've got your number, we've got, you know, a way to FaceTime or whatever the case may be, and things get handled, you know, very inexpensively, most of the time free. And, you know, we just don't see that. But what they said was the same thing you just said. I would love a product for like a service visit. So tech comes out for 2 days, lubricates, replaces some parts, some wear and tear parts, maybe does some brush up training if anyone needed it. You know, cleans up the equipment, checks all the pallet locking mechanisms, make sure everything's up and going. So we've taken that into further conversations now and are actually developing a package, like an actual product. Cool. That'll have just a flat rate. It'll include airfare and hotel and all the normal things. We don't want to do the thing where it's like, yeah, you can pay us to come out, but then you got to reimburse us for the airplane ticket, reimburse us for the hotel. So we want to just create something that's kind of like an all-inclusive technician visit. And then in terms of training, we definitely have that. So it's just by the day. Again, that includes, and that's already set up, and that includes airfare and all that kind of good stuff. So you would just say, you know, I need, you know, 1 day or 3 days or whatever it was, and we just charge by the day to get that. And our techs have different experience levels. So we have some techs that are very, very experienced in printing. So if you're needing, you know, water-based training or something more specific to printing technique, you know, we can send someone from that versus, hey, we hired some new operators. Can you have someone come out, you know, and run production with us and make sure they understand, you know, flashes and the settings and, you know, angle and all that kind of good stuff. So it's a great question, and definitely something we're working on, and we will roll out publicly as soon as we get it done. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I like kind of come from a mindset where I feel like it's nice to sometimes bring people in to work with employees versus have like a coworker do it, or even like me do it. It's just kind of like you bring in that outsider specifically to work with them, and
Right.
I feel like it could be really effective. And plus then it's coming from someone that's not like just their boss a little bit, and it's like, hey, like this is really like a way to, this is really going to help you print quicker, more efficiently, or like, plus there's just things that the machine does that I think a lot of technicians like aren't, not technicians, sorry, like press operators aren't fully aware of. And like, when some of those situations arise, like, like some of the different like flash settings, or, being able to essentially put in like 2 squeegees and do like a forward and backstroke, right? Like there's been scenarios where we've had like something a little bit registered wrong, or maybe like the artwork's a little off, and we've been able to use some of those features to make the print work. You know what I mean? Which, and some of that's the stuff that you could do with a manual press, right? When you're on a manual, you can kind of like sometimes hold your screen a little to the side, or print on an angle, or like do these things to kind of make the design work. It's cool because like there are those things that you could manipulate with a ROQ as well. And I think a lot of the printers don't always know that kind of stuff. And so, I definitely think, having training, and having, I think, training from someone who's like not really like within the business, I think could sometimes be like more effective. So if stuff like that's offered, like I would definitely be interested. So, and I think
that'd be awesome.
Probably other people too. So
And so I hear too that you guys like our technicians enough that you actually have a shrine to one of them somewhere in your business.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if it's a shrine. It's just here, I'll show you. It's just he's a good looking guy. This is like a real specimen of a person here. Let's go show you.
All right, so this is a shout out in advance to one of our team members who's about to be captured on video, because I think he's represented somewhere in Barrel Maker here.
Oh, is
this guy?
Is this a bathroom we're in?
Oh my! Look at this!
Look at that!
Oh my!
That is Buck shirtless in Barrel Maker. Now on a picture above is that the toilet right below there?
Yeah, this is this is a pretty big upgrade though for him. He's slept inside. We used to have a dog crate in our shop, and I feel like he slept inside of that dog crate probably like 10 times. Because he works awesome. Like all night. So there's been times where he'll work all night kind of on the presses and everything, and then probably around like 4 or 5 in the morning he'll like curl up in the dog crate and he'll fall asleep, but then everyone else still comes into work in the morning and they see the technician like sleeping in the crate, and
that's awesome.
But he gets it done.
He does indeed.
Apparently I never need to get Buck a hotel room again. That was actually good knowledge for me.
Right.
Buck doesn't need a hotel. He doesn't need a hotel. He doesn't need shirts. I don't think he needs shoes. I don't
think he needs food or water, or even really a salary even. I don't think we need to pay him.
I think he needs a salary and beer and tools.
Okay. Salary, beer, and tools. I think we can do all 3 of those, but no more shirts.
No shirts.
No more hotels. And no more work boots. Maybe a fanny pack though.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Pack?
Yeah.
Okay.
Standard.
Yeah. He's definitely
that's
a
kind of
fanny
signature for Buck.
Yeah. A screen printed fanny pack.
Sure.
Okay.
And why not?
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. Well, I want to wrap up this episode, and Justin, can you let people know where they can find Barrel Maker, and maybe reiterate too your guys' live printing website, because that was really kind of cool. So people wanted to check that out.
Yeah, you could find us at liveprinting.com or at barrelmakerprinting.com.
Cool. And social
either of those would
tags.
Be great.
Social's the same at Barrel Maker, or no social?
I think I think at Barrel Maker Printing.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you joining us today and giving us a little taste of our own medicine. That was kind of fun to reverse the tables. I actually really enjoyed that. We should do one of these again, Merrill. That was fun.
Yeah.
And
thank you guys for having me
out there. Oh yeah, man.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Rob, as well. So your second appearance, I think. Third?
Third? Yeah.
Third.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, I wasn't going to thank Rob. I was going to thank Rob last.
Oh, forgive me.
So
as you were.
I was going to go like, thank you, Justin.
Right.
Thank you, Merrill.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank myself, and then thank you, Rob.
See, I thought he just wasn't going to thank at all because that's like the running gag. I'm always like, Ross, why are you so much nicer to me when no one else is around? Which is
because I love you, dude. That's like a sign of affection, when you're kind of torment your friends when you're around other people, and then you're your normal self behind closed doors.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, cool. Well, I want to thank everyone out there that's listening and tuning in to ROQ Shop Talk. Continue to listen. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I don't know, every other social mechanism that's out there. And we appreciate you listening. Continue to press onward and rock on.
Tremendous thanks to Justin Moore for joining us today. As always, thank you for spending time with us this week. Tune in at your convenience wherever you listen to your podcast by searching ROQ Shop Talk. Our next episode will discuss productive mindsets. If you'd like to request to be on the show, please visit roq.us/ROQ Shop Talk. If you found today's episode helpful, please recommend it to a friend who you think may find it helpful as well. Please like, share, and subscribe on social media. Until next time, rockers, press onward.